Today, I'm going to build the most hated NFL team of all time, bringing in players who are known for their dirty play, trash talking, and their disloyalty throughout NFL history, starting with our cornerback. Richard Sherman comes in at number 23 as the most hated NFL player of all time because of his trash talking and the way he considers himself as the NFL's best cornerback. Because of this, he'll be cornerback number 1. To help me build this team, I'll be using NFL moments, articles, sports show commentaries, and much more. But let me tell you, being the most hated doesn't always mean that you're the best player at each position. And joining Richard Sherman is Eli Apple, who was booted out of the New York Giants organization for being a terrible teammate, and went on Twitter to bash his former teams and their fans. But our cornerback lineup doesn't end there. We're bringing in legendary Deion Sanders, whose nickname was Primetime. His flashy play and unapologetic attitude rubbed many people the wrong way during his career. His signature high-stepping before reaching the end zone was often viewed as disrespectful, earning him a spot on our roster. Joining the cornerback room will be Adam Pac-Man Jones, who was fined $35,000 for his dirty play on Amari Cooper. And rounding up the cornerback lineup is Jalen Ramsey. His constant trash talking and public disputes with former coaches has earned himself the reputation as being one of the most hated players in the NFL right now. After we build the most hated NFL team of all time, we will see if they can dominate the current NFL and win a Super Bowl in just one season. And there are going to be some players that don't make the most hated NFL team, so if I missed anyone, make sure to let me know down below in the comments. Continuing with the defense, let's bring in the most hated safeties of all time, starting with Rodney Harrison. He comes in at number 8 on this article for being voted the dirtiest player in the league 3 times during his career, and he'll be the starting strong safety. Backing him up will be Jamal Adams, since he was recently at the center of controversy for his poor attitude against a reporter's wife. As for free safeties, Roy Williams comes in at number 8 on this article of the dirtiest players of all time. The NFL had to implement a rule because he would often grab offensive players' pads and then haul them down by it. Joining him will be Bernard Pollard, and he is hated by Patriots fans as he severely injured Brady, Welker, Gronk, and Ridley during his career. Moving on to the linebackers, Vontaze Burfict has earned the title of being the NFL's dirtiest player of all time, racking up $4.2 million in fines and a hit that really changed Antonio Brown's career. Joining him at middle linebacker is going to be Ray Lewis. He was fined by the NFL a couple times for illegal hits, not to mention his over-the-top sack celebrations. Moving on to outside linebackers, James Harrison and Bill Romanowski will be joining the team. Throughout their careers, both Harrison and Romanowski have faced accusations of dirty play. As for outside linebackers, I'm bringing in Lawrence Taylor, who has been one of the most hated players in NFL history. Even though he's the best defensive player of all time, Taylor struggled with off-field issues and controversial behavior throughout his career, causing many people outside of the Giants faithful to not take a liking to him. At defensive tackle, we have Ndamukong Suh, who is notoriously known for his dirty play. Suh's infamous dock incident on a Packers lineman in 2011 earned him a 2-game suspension, and he's accrued over $600,000 in fines throughout his career. Joining him will be Albert Hainsworth, who had multiple incidents of dirty play throughout his NFL career. Moving on to defensive ends, we have Myles Garrett for his helmet incident on Mason Rudolph, which earned him an indefinite suspension for the 2019 season. And joining him is Deacon Jones. He was known for his controversial head slap technique. While not illegal at the time, Jones' tactic of slapping opposing linemen in their open ear holes to disorient them made him a hated figure among offensive linemen. On the other side, we have Julius Peppers, whose betrayal of the Carolina Panthers left a bitter taste in the mouth of fans. And just like that, we have built the most hated NFL defense of all time, but wait until you see who makes the offense. At tight end, we have Travis Kelce. Even though he's one of the greatest tight ends of all time, Travis comes in at number 6 on this article for his brash and outspoken attitude. And joining him is another big trash talker in Shannon Sharpe. Moving to the running back position, we have Ezekiel Elliott. While his tenure with the Dallas Cowboys drew plenty of hate, Elliott also found himself in hot water for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. And joining him will be Ricky Williams, who had plenty of off-the-field issues. Moving on to the offensive line, we have Alejandro Villanueva at left tackle for his disloyalty to the Steelers organization after spending 6 years there. Next to him at left guard is Steve Wisniewski, known for his dirty tactics in the trenches. At the center position, we have Ryan Jensen, a player notorious for his tendency to continue hitting after the whistle. Moving to right guard, we bring in Conrad Dobler. He's ranked as the 3rd dirtiest player of all time according to this article for punching, kicking, and spitting on opposing players. Rounding out our offensive line is Lane Johnson at right tackle, known for his brash trash talking and disrespectful remarks. Before we get to the most hated quarterback in NFL history, let's move on to the wide receivers. And leading the charge is Terrell Owens, who's the most hated player in NFL history. This is because of his over-the-top football celebrations while burning bridges at every stop of his Hall of Fame career. Joining him is Juju Smith-Schuster for his viral TikTok videos of him dancing on opposing teams' logos. He definitely put a target on his back, and shortly after his dancing videos, he got laid out by Von Bell. According to this article, Hines Ward cracks the list of the most hated players of all time because of his blindside block. And we can't forget about Chad Johnson, who joins this team as wide receiver number 4. Just like Terrell Owens and Juju, Ocho is often called a distraction within the organizations he's played for. Now, moving on to the most hated quarterback of all time. But let me tell you, there was plenty of options to choose from, including Cam Newton, Brett Favre, Michael Vick, Jay Cutler, and even Tom Brady, but none more hated than Aaron Rodgers, who tops this article of the most hated NFL player of all time. And just like that, we have the most hated offense in NFL history. As for kicker and punter, we're bringing in Martin Gramatica, known for his over-the-top celebrations after every kick attempt, regardless of the distance. And joining him is Pat McAfee, whose outspoken personality has earned him plenty of hate even after his playing career. Now that we assembled the most hated NFL team of all time, let's see if they can lift the Lombardi Trophy. And the first game against the New York Giants started off with them working down the field and settling for a 49-yard field goal. Late in the second quarter, the game was all tied at 3, and Rodgers was able to connect with Terrell Owens over the middle for a first down. And a couple plays later, Rodgers throws a beam to Travis Kelce for the first touchdown of the game. The most hated team of all time continued right where they left off in the second half, with Rodgers keeping it for himself and rushing for 21 yards before handing it off to Ricky Williams, who punches it in for 6. The most hated team went on to score a few more touchdowns and win the opening game by a score of 38-13. After simming the rest of the season, the most hated team ended up finishing with a 16-1 record, only losing to the Carolina Panthers in Week 11. Even with that loss, they still have a first-round bye heading into the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers really had a good season, finishing second in the NFL with 4,500 passing yards and 54 touchdowns. Ricky Williams ended up rushing for just under 1,900 yards, and I'm sure the Saints would have loved to have him do that during his career. Both Terrell Owens and Hines Ward had over 1,000 receiving yards, while Deacon Jones finished first with 26.5 sacks, while Myles Garrett wasn't far behind. Taking on the 10-7 Seattle Seahawks led by Kenneth Walker. And the game started off horribly for the most hated team as Geno Smith throws a deep pass to the end zone where DK Metcalf comes down with it to take the early lead. But on the most hated team's opening drive, Ricky Williams takes the handoff, breaks a tackle with a truck stick, and then takes it the rest of the way for a 75-yard touchdown to tie the game up. They were then able to stop the Seahawks on their next drive, and then Aaron Rodgers connected with Travis Kelce, who was able to take it for a 48-yard touchdown. The most hated team absolutely blew the doors wide open in the next 3 quarters, easily defeating the Seahawks, and are now moving on to the NFC Championship game. Next up is the Minnesota Vikings, who are led by Kirk Cousins at quarterback. On the Vikings' opening drive, Kirk Cousins takes a sack, and now the most hated team's offense takes the field for the first time. And Aaron Rodgers quickly gets his team down the field before connecting with Terrell Owens for a 10-yard touchdown. The game quickly got away from the Vikings as the most hated team scored a few more times in the first half. And after simming the rest of the game, the most hated team wins by a score of 37-10, with Aaron Rodgers throwing for 326 yards and 4 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers ends up winning NFL MVP, while Ricky Williams wins Offensive Player of the Year and Deacon Jones wins Defensive Player of the Year. But we now take on Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens in the Super Bowl. And the game started with Lamar stepping back and throwing it to his receiver, but Adam Pac-Man Jones comes up with the interception. But that didn't last long, as Aaron Rodgers throws an interception right back to the Ravens defense. A few possessions later, Aaron Rodgers was able to connect with Chad Johnson, who takes it to the house for a 54-yard touchdown. Although the Ravens were able to cut the lead to 4 with a Justin Tucker field goal, Ricky Williams answers right back with an 80-yard rushing touchdown. The second quarter saw both teams putting points on the board, but the most hated team has a 14-point lead. And in the third quarter, the most hated team took a lot of clock with them before Aaron Rodgers throws another touchdown pass to Chad Johnson. Although Lamar was doing all that he could, Aaron Rodgers continued to put on an offensive masterclass, this time to Chad Johnson in the end zone. And just like that, the most hated NFL team of all time takes down the Ravens and win the Super Bowl. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to go check out where I built the fastest team of all time. We'll see if they win a Super Bowl right over here. Take it away.